Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Carl Sagan. Good evening, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. So I'll start with the usual. You can donate via Bitcoin or Vertcoin. Although I've gotten $0 via cryptocurrency for over 16 months. The one that I have here shows 3 transactions to receive, and that's for me taking money out of my Patreon and giving it to Susie Dawson when she needed it. And Vertcoin, of course, has none yet. You can always donate via Super Chat if I'm live, and if you do, Google and YouTube gets a big chunk of it. Sorry, there's a fruit fly. Sorry, fly. And if not, you can always donate via PayPal.me, and I'm going to disclose first a video of every month, basically how much money I got donated that month and all months in total. And better yet, though, I would go to this Facebook page or check out Zen Garcia's Flat Earth Challenge and prove that the Earth is a globe, and get that $15,000 from Zen Garcia and then donate it. You know, you don't have to donate all of it. You can just donate, a tenth of it. To me, that'd be fine. Because, hey, you probably didn't know about it. Now you know. And that's what we're going to go over. I'm going to show you something that I watched. It was Apple Watch Series 5 commercial. And this is what I always see, but I never see the actuality of the Earth's plane turning into a curve. And watch, you'll notice it. It's slight trickery, but watch.
Tells time and communicates with Sagan.
See how that was quick? Now, all I did was copy it over onto, and I'm going to need to get it over to my, no, shoot. I used the wrong one. Give me a second. 3. There we go. Now in this one, I'm just going to play it back. And let's go to tools. Of course, I'll just let you watch it first.
And communicates with Sagan.
So it's the right one. Let's do a power tools. Let's go ahead and video speed adjustment. Heck, we'll go really slow since it's a very fast video, and go at a 0.1 speed, and we'll just mute the unlink audio and mute the clip, and here we go. See, horizons level, and then up in the clouds and curve. It's always that. It's never just, hey, when do we actually get to see it? Can you guys, that would just be awesome. That way Apple doesn't have to, create fake imagery. Anyone could use it. But enough of that. Let's go on to the court document case. Okay, I think it's Control 4. There we go. The introduction. Hey, Grant. Hey, Plain Truth. Now, you've got Facebook.com, notes, Zen Garcia, Globe versus Flat Earth court case. Link is in the description box on YouTube, or Steam it via vim.tv. And I'm just going to go over it. Case number, Magistrate Court of Barrow County, State of Georgia, Notice of Hearing, case number 2019 MV 1104, William Menke Thompson. And what's great about this, we go over the entire thing that the plaintiff did in order to prove that Earth is a globe, which he didn't provide sufficient enough evidence for the judge to decide. I would love to interview the judge. Versus Zen Garcia, the defendant of Winder, Georgia. And this is Globe versus Flat Earth Court Case and Garcia, Tuesday, June 11th, 2019, reading time 22 minutes. I'm pleased to announce that on this Shavat Pentecost, the 9th of Sivan, I don't know about that stuff, that the judge presiding over a civil court case in which I was being sued for the amount of $15,000, that's a good chunk of change for him to just put that out there, ruled in my favor and sided with the evidence I presented. Those of you familiar with my work know that following the publication of my 9th book, Flat Key, as key to decrypt the Book of Enoch, that I openly held a challenge to any individual in the world that should they be able to verify with two independent, scientifically verifiable experiments that either the Earth had curvature or that it was moving in excess of 50 miles per hour, that they could earn the rewarded money. Thus, interestingly enough, this case was actually based upon, sorry about the background noise, and dependent upon whether one believes the Earth to be a globe or flat plane. The judge was ruling over whether the plaintiff, WT, had provided ample evidence to warrant being rewarded the prize money I had put up in challenge. My contention was that he had not and could not scientifically prove that curvature was non-existent. That's probably what it meant. Her ruling upheld the fact that his conclusions per stipulation of the rules were not based on real-world experimentation, that curvature actually exists. That whether one believes the Earth to be flat or a globe, one must consider the evidence which I brought forth to the court contending against the supposed evidence of the Earth's curvature. Imagine the shock of those law students witness to the proceedings, watching as the case was argued out, when they discovered that those in the courtroom would be contesting arguments for and against viewpoint that the Earth could hold shape contrary to what has been, as public, largely indoctrinated into belief. I was so relieved to discover that the judge was actually open to hearing and considering the facts of this case, and in doing so state in conclusion that no matter one's belief or whether the Earth was a globe or flat, certainly there was much to consider when examining the evidence. With that, I will submit below the statement that read into the Barrow County Magistrate Court public record here in Winder, Georgia, this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Know that I have amended some of this material to clarify the stances of this case. However, the facts as presented here are truthful and reflecting the proceedings against me by WT. I am hoping to get an account of the case as reported by the law clerk, but do not yet know how to do so. We'll have to go look and see if that's available yet. I'm not sure whether this case is the first to be argued publicly in a court of law with focus and regard to the question of whether the Earth is a plane or a globe, but would be interested to know whether any other case like this had been considered before a judge. W did post to the court that should he lose this case, it would reflect very badly on the indoctrinated belief that the Earth is a globe. I do believe that the judge's decision to support the evidence that I presented on such consideration was without a doubt a large win for our community and precedent we can in the least be proud of when sharing in discussion this topic and case. And this is what I love is like people who come in here saying, "Oh, it's a globe." It's like, look, if you're pretty sure it's a globe, $15,000, just prove it. You got $15,000. Should be easy, right? Should be easy. All right. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God. I believe this case was a win for Yahweh and biblical cosmologists. Praise God that I did not have to shell out $15,000 to someone undeserving of such reward. Likewise, God bless Judge Jamie Crow for standing with truth in the face of world conditioning. And here is the record. Court case, plaintiff WT versus defendant Zen Garcia. Plaintiff suing the defendant for $15,000, believing that he had honored the rules of a contest put forth by Zen Garcia as to whether the Earth possessed a measure of curvature defined by the formula of 8 inches per mile inversely squared accordingly to that distance. WT believed that he had satisfied the rules of the contest set forth by Garcia and deserves just compensation. Thompson claims that he had developed 2 software programs which between them allowed the Earth's curvature to be measured. In one instance, the software supposedly measured the curvature that existed between towers spanning an elongated bridge. The other program was designed to calculate the amount of curvature existing between witnesses on the ground and others at the top of buildings when watching sunset. Defendant Garcia shared numerous real-world examples which dispelling the existence of measurable curvature based upon the Earth being a globe of 25,000 circumference, stated that given the evidence, one must reconsider whether the Earth is truly spherical in shape or like a plane, flat and level, as the evidence suggests. To whom it may concern, at the end of 2014, a co-host and colleague of mine, owned by the broadcasting handle The Hijacker, began imploring me to examine a topic which for some reason began garnering a lot of interest on the internet. The issue had to do with whether scientists were correct or not in their calculation of the Earth's measurable curvature. Having studied astronomy for 3 years as my requisite college science and familiar with the dynamics construct of the solar system, I felt I would be able to settle this question quickly and then return to my normal programming. All right. What I would love to hear is, after he loses this court case and $15,000, he should probably go to the where he studied astronomy for 3 years and probably sue them. That would be funny. Looking for an informative answer as to the Earth's rate of curvature, Google led me to the Bedford level experiment conducted in 1838 by Samuel Burley Robotham, a mathematician and scientist who was able to use the Pythagorean theorem to determine a formula by which one could then measure the Earth's curvature. Pythagoras again. Affirmed by the Pythagorean theorem, which dictates that the sum of the square of adjacent and opposite sides equals the square of the hypotenuse in a right angle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Attempting to calculate the distance that the Earth drops down per mile, the equation would equal radius squared plus distance squared equals radius plus drop squared. The measure or rate of drop or curvature can be written in equation as the square root of r squared plus d squared minus r equals drop. Should the radius of the Earth be 3,963 miles at 1 mile distance, the equation can be solved as, I'm just going to say, if you want to know more, just go to this link. All right. In 1949, Robotham published Zetetic Astronomy under the pseudonym Parallax, where he reported this formula as equation for how to determine the rate of the curvature of the Earth. If the Earth is a globe and is 25,000 English statute miles in circumference, the surface of all standing water must have a certain degree of convexity. Every part must be an arc of a circle. From the summit of any such arc there will exist a curvature or declination of 8 inches in the first statute mile. In the second mile, the fall will be 32 inches. In the third mile, 72 inches or 6 feet, as shown in the following diagram. We don't have a diagram, sorry. After the first 3 miles, the curvature would be so great that no difficulty could exist in detecting either its actual existence or its proportion. In the county of Cambridge, there is an artificial river or canal called the Old Bedford. It is upward of 20 miles in length and passes in a straight line through that part of the fens called the Bedford level. The water is nearly stationary, often completely so, and throughout its entire length has no interruption from locks or water gates of any kind, so that it is in every respect well adapted for ascertaining whether or not what amount of convexity really exists. Excuse me. Based upon the Pythagorean theorem and simplified mathematics, he set the following formula for use in determining said curvature: miles squared, or 8 inches, distance in miles, excuse me, squared. Meaning that over a certain distance, one must simply square the root of the distance traveled in miles and then multiply that figure by 8 inches. For example, traveling 1 mile, one would multiply 8 times 1 and then square that number. So determining the curvature over the first 10 miles in inches, the rate would amount to 8 inches total curvature for 1 mile, and then in 10 miles, you get 800 inches of total curvature. Anyways, converting the total number of inches of curvature into feet, simply divide that number by 12. Since there are 12 inches per feet, or 12 inches in 1 foot, the table below shows how much measurable curvature should exist in scale of miles according to the distance listed prior. Anyways, there's more of that stuff. I don't need to read it out. Thus, if the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, then the curvature would be 8 inches per mile squared. To use his formula for calculation, just square the mileage and multiply by 8. So if you use 3 miles, it is 3 squared 9, and multiply by 8, 72, which is 6 feet. Therefore, the Earth's curvature at 3 miles should be a rate of 6 feet or 72 inches. To test this hypothesis, Robotham conducted what is now the famous Bedford level experiment. Tying a flag to the mast of the boat sent 6 miles across the still canal waters, He determined with the use of a telescope that there was no change in height. Given the accepted circumference of the Earth's sphericity, the top of the mast should have been some 11 feet below his line of sight. Considering that measurable curvature was non-existent, Rambotham, like myself and many of my colleagues now, have been forced to consider whether there was any truth to the existence of curvature. A fact which can be verified in conducting a simple experiment with the use of a laser pointer and mirror. During this simple test, many were led to the realization that the Earth had no rotundity to its form. This fact, as bizarre as it is one that anyone, anywhere can visually affirm for themselves in simple experimentation. Considering this discovery, one will also be forced to reckon with the fact that lighthouses, islands, monuments, statues, cityscapes can also verifiably be seen beyond the scientifically accepted formula for determining the sphericity of the Earth. Likewise, when considering the natural properties and physics of water, it is difficult to conceive in affirmation how the Earth's oceans could possibly adhere to the surface, or to its surface, given that water will always drip or leak of any form which is not like a basin contain it. Water always at its lowest point gathers in pool before setting out in level. Becoming aware of this information, I, in 2015, published the first of a 3-book series called Flat Earth as key to decrypt the Book of Enoch to bring others to awareness on this issue. Contest. After this publication, a competent, and what I learned in my research, it is then that I had the idea of holding a contest which would likewise challenge others to themselves investigate this discrepancy. My hope was that others would also recognize that something was amiss according to what we have traditionally been taught in academia. Offering $5,000 to any individual in the world, the payout was contingent on somebody submitting 2 scientifically repeatable experiments which could verify the curvature of the Earth according to the rate and accepted formula for determining such declination. Should the Earth be a sphere with a 25,000-mile circumference? The contest ran from August of 2016 until November 2017, the date of the first International Flat Earth Convention held in Raleigh, North Carolina. William Thompson was one of many which inquired to and tried to meet the challenges of the contest. Over the course of several months, I had many discussions with him, where I pointed out the clear evidence that one can visually see structures like landmarks, cities, scapes, statues, lighthouses, and even islands beyond what was accepted as being the formula for determining such curvature. I've very clearly stated in the rule that one would have to produce experiments which were verifiable in real-world scenario and situation, and which could be repeated by others in following similar scientific method. Creating 2 software programs, one to measure the distance between towers on the Golden Gate Bridge and the other to measure the so-called curvature of the Earth when watching sunset from both the base and top of a building. Thompson was never able to create or present any type of experiment which could truly confirm the rate of curvature as decided upon by mathematicians and scientists themselves for determining that rate. He instead submitted several videos where he argued with me over the formula for determining measurable curvature. I implored him to conduct a simple laser test to see if measurable curvature truly did exist. Refusing to do so and attempting to argue from a hypothetical point of view, I had to let some point just simply not respond to his attempts to base his evidence on conjecture. If one is not going to look at the real world evidence, there is no amount of convincing to one that is dead set against open-mindedly examining facts. My conclusions are based on numerous real-world examples as well listed below. It was made clear, however, in the rules that the designed experiments must adhere to and confirm the formula for determining such declination. As the court is forced to consider, his so-called evidence cannot be verified in a real-world situation. Thus, the experiments which he submitted were in no way applicable or accepted by me as evidentiary proof. The following real-world evidence is, as I suggest, proof of Rowbotham's Bedford level experiment. Example 1. Using the formula for calculating measurable curvature, we apply them to real-world scenarios like this, for instance. New York Statue of Liberty, standing 326 feet above sea level. She can be, on a clear day, seen from as far as 60 miles away. Applying the formula for determining the rate of measurable curvature on a globular Earth, such appearance should be impossible given 2,072 feet of curvature should exist in obstruction between Lady Liberty and the viewers at that distance. Example 2, photographer Joshua Nowicki a few years ago caused an enormous controversy when standing on the shores of Lake Michigan. He was able to snap a picture of the Chicago skyline from 50 plus miles away. His panorama became a spectacle, given that it should be impossible at that distance to see visually even the antenna sitting atop the 108-story Willis, formerly known as Sears Tower. Rising to 1,451 feet in height, this building should have been hidden completely by the 1,666.67 feet of curvature, which should have impeded the photographer's view of the skyline. Even just seeing the antenna on top of the tallest building should have been structurally impossible, and yet Joshua was able to capture and visibly portray the entire length of Chicago's panoramic cityscape. That night, a Chicago weatherman on the evening news attempted to explain clearly what is seen in the image, his efforts weigh as a mirage to refraction. His boast was the next summer proven false by two of my colleagues, Rob Skiba and Rick Hummer. These gentlemen went to Chicago and made a video documentary confirming that one can not only see the picturesque Chicago cityscape from the side of Lake Michigan, where Joshua took his picture, but then rode across Lake Michigan in a boat, filming the entirety of the city growing in scope and size as one came nearer to it. This documentary affirmed without a doubt that one could in fact see the Chicago skyline from such a distance, and that it was not, as the weatherman claimed, a mirage. And here's the link. And it's still there. Good. He also interviewed several native peoples from that area who all shared conclusively that seeing the Chicago skyline from such distance was a normal and daily possibility, and that the only things which could skew in some slight manner such viewing would be inclement weather. However, more or less it was daily possible to see the entire cityscape, even when in windy conditions and the waves from the opposite shores of Lake Michigan were choppy. Example 3. Residents of the island of Oahu in Hawaii attest to being able to regularly view their homeland, the Isle of Kauai, in excess of 90 miles distant from them. There's a link. Strong Evidence of Flat Earth by Terry Robinson. And there you go. Such viewing should be improbable even at 200 feet of elevation, as there should be 5,400 feet or nearly a mile of curvature dividing those islands from one another. Yet Hawaiian natives avowed to the ability to see some of the other islands of their archipelago at such distance and range a regular occurrence. The Bible says, out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses shall the truth be established. This passage and premise had established lawful jurisprudence. I literally can provide hundreds of confirmations as to the validity of my claim, while Mr. Thompson cannot verifiable affirm one, which is reason why I denied his delusional claim that he had succeeded in satisfying the stipulations of the contest. Bridges, canals, railroads. Another little known fact which immediately forces one to consider whether there is any measurable curvature to the supposed rotundity of the earth. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor into their projects. Also the Army of Engineers, U.S. Army of Engineers. The non-existent curvature of the earth. Structures such as canals, railways, and bridges that, when assembled often over hundreds of miles, are, for example, always cut, measured, and laid out horizontally level, without the mathematical calculation or allowance for any such curvature. Several eyewitness testimonies published in various 19th century publications affirm such a notion. One surveyor, Mr. T. Westwood, wrote into the January 1896 Earth Review magazine, "In leveling, I work from ordnance marks or canal levels to get the height above sea level. The puzzle to me used to be that over several miles each level was and is treated throughout its whole length as the same level from end to end, not the least allowance being made for curvature." One of the civil engineers in his district, after some amount of argument on each side as to the reason why no allowance for curvature was made, said he did not believe anybody would know the shape of the earth in this life. Another surveyor and engineer of 30 years wrote to the Birmingham Weekly Mercury, February 15, 1890, "I'm thoroughly acquainted with the theory and practice of civil engineering. However bigoted some of our professors may be in the theory of surveying according to the prescribed rules, yet it is well known amongst us that such theoretical measurements are incapable of any practical illustration. All our locomotives are designed to run on what may be regarded as true level or flats. There are, of course, partial inclines or gradients here and there, but they are always accurately defined and must be carefully traversed. but anything approaching to 8 inches in the mile, increasing as the square of the distance, could not be worked by any engine that was ever yet constructed. Taking one station with another all over England and Scotland, it may be stated that all the platforms are on the same relative level. The distance between eastern and western coasts of England may be set down as 300 miles. If the prescribed curvature was indeed as represented, the central stations at Rugby or Warwick ought to be close upon 3 miles higher than a cord drawn from the two extremities. If such was the case, there is not a driver or stoker within the kingdom that would be found to take charge of the train. We can only laugh at those of you, your readers, who seriously give us credit for such venturesome exploits as running trains around spherical curves. Horizontal curves on levels are dangerous enough. Vertical curves would be 1,000 times worse, and with our rolling stock constructed as at present physically impossible. Engineer W. Winkler wrote into the Earth Review October 1893 regarding the Earth's supposed curvature. As an engineer of many years standing, I saw that this absurd allowance is only permitted in school books. No engineer would dream of allowing anything of the kind. I have projected many miles of railways and many more of canals, and the allowance has not even been thought of, much less allowed for. This allowance for curvature means that it is 8 inches for the first mile of a canal, and increasing by the square of the distance in miles. Thus, a small navigable canal for boats, say 30 miles long, will have, by the above rule, an allowance for curvature of 600 feet. Think of that, and then please credit engineers as not being quite such fools. Nothing of the sort is allowed. We no more think of allowing 600 feet for a line of 30 miles of railway or canal than of wasting our time trying to square the circle. Talk to Marty Leeds. The Suez Canal, which connects the Mediterranean Sea with the Gulf of Suez on the Red Sea, is a clear proof of the Earth's and water's non-convexity. The canal is 100 miles long and without any locks, so the water within is an uninterrupted continuation of the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. When it was constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account, and it was dug along a horizontal datum line 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and the water surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles. The distance between the Red Sea at Suez and the Mediterranean Sea is 100 statute miles, the datum line of the canal being 26 feet below the level of the Mediterranean and is continued horizontally the whole way from sea to sea. There not being a single lock on the canal, the surface of the water being parallel with the datum line, is thus clear that there is no curvature globularity for the whole 100 miles between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Had there been, according to the astronomic theory, the middle of the canal would have been 1,666 feet higher than at either end, whereas the canal is perfectly horizontal for the whole distance. The Great Canal of China, said to be 700 miles in length, was made without regard to any allowance for supposed curvature. As David Wardlaw Scott, terra firma, on 5th of August 1892, the German explorer performed the ceremony of opening gates of the Baltic and Northern Sea Canal in the spring of 1891. The canal starts at Haltenau on the south side of Kiel Bay and joins the Elbe 15 miles above its mouth. It is 61 miles long, 200 feet wide at the surface and 85 feet at the bottom, and the depth being 28 feet. No locks are required, as the surface of the two seas is level. Let those who believe it is the practice for surveyors to make allowance for curvature ponder over the following from the Manchester Ship Canal Company, Earth Review, October 1893. It is customary in railway and canal constructions for all levels to be referred to a datum which is nominally horizontal and is so shown on all sections. It is not the practice in laying out public works to make allowances for the curvature of the Earth. Thomas Winship in Zetetic Cosmogony. London and Northwestern Railway forms a straight line 180 miles long between London and Liverpool. The railroad's highest point, midway at Birmingham Station, is only 240 feet above sea level. If the world were actually a globe, however, curvating 8 inches per mile squared, the 180 miles stretch of rail would form an arc with the center point at Birmingham raising a full 5,400 feet above London and Liverpool. Adding the station's actual height, 240 feet, to its theoretical inclination, 5,400 feet, gives 5,640 feet as the real's necessary height on a globe Earth, more than 1,000 feet taller than Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in Great Britain. And projecting railways on a globe, the datum line would be the arc of a circle corresponding to the latitude of that place. That the datum line for the railway projections is also a horizontal line proves that the general configuration of the world is horizontal. To support the globe theory, the gentleman of the observatory should call upon the surveyor to prove that he lost his necessary amount for curvature, but this is what the learned men dare not do, as it is well known that the allowance for the supposed curvature is never made. Thomas Winship. In a long line, like that of the Great Pacific Railway extending across North America, the supposed curvature would, of course, be proportionally great, extending to many miles in height, but not 1 inch was allowed by the engineers for curvature during the whole course of the construction of that vast line of railway. And if we think of it, how could it be otherwise? All railway models must, of necessity, be straight. For how could any engine or carriage run with safety on a convex surface? David Wardley Scott, Terra Firma. G.C. Bourne, in his book, The History of the Great Western Railway, stated that the entire original English railroad, more than 118 miles long, that the whole line, with the exception of the inclined planes, may be regarded as level. The 1862 British Parliament session, which approved its construction, recorded in order number 44 for the proposed railway that the section be drawn to the same horizontal scale as the plan, and to a vertical scale of not less than 1 inch to every 100 feet, and shall show the surface of the ground marked on the plan, the intended level of the proposed work, the height of every embankment, and the depth of every cutting, and a datum horizontal line which shall be the same throughout the whole length of the work. 118 miles of level railway, and yet the surface of which it is projected a globe impossible. It cannot be. Early in 1898, I met Mr. Hughes, chief officer of the steamer City of Lincoln. This gentleman told me he had projected thousands of miles of level railway in South America, and never heard of any allowance for curvature being made. On one occasion, he surveyed over 1,000 miles of railway, which was a perfect straight line all the way. It is well known that in the Argentine Republic and other parts of South America, there are railways thousands of miles long without curve or gradient. In projecting railways, the world is acknowledged to be a plane, and if it were a globe, the rules of projection have yet to be discovered. Level railways prove a level world to the utter confusion of the globular school of impractical men with high salaries and little brains. Thomas Winship, Esoteric Cosmogony. That in all surveys, no allowance is made for curvature, which would be a necessity on a globe. That a horizontal line is in every case the datum line, the same line being continuous throughout the whole length of the work, and that the theodolite cuts the line at equal altitudes at either side of it, which altitude is the same as that of the instrument, clearly proves to those who will accept proof when it is furnished, and that the world is a plane and not a globe. Thomas Winship, Zetetic Cosmology. Contemporarily, the Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge in China, the longest bridge in the world, built over 4 years by 10,000 workers at a cost of $8.5 billion, a startling 164,800 meters in length, like the canals and railroads mentioned above, did not in its construction take into account the rate of curvature as cited by the formula for determining such curvature. No matter what one thinks about the evidence listed here, the evidence listed by me is factual and scientifically verifiable according to experimentation, which anyone can conduct and affirm for themselves. The evidence submitted by William Thomson, being in no manner relatable to real-world situations, cannot, as the rules require, be affirmed or scientifically repeatable and verifiable by anyone. Thus, why his so-called evidence was rejected, as it was in no way even applicable for consideration as established by the rules of the contest. Neither do either of the so-called experiments which he submitted verify in any manner the rate of curvature decided by the formula listed in prior paragraph. I ask that the judge or jury considering this case throw it out of court as a complete waste of time. And there's screenshots of the paperwork. I mean, I've heard Zen mentioning it and a couple of others, and I thought I would just go ahead and read out this snippet, and if I ever saw the public the paperwork of Barrow County. If I could look it up, let's see. Excuse me. If I'm just trying to recover from my cold. Court documents, Barrow County. Let's see. Magistrate court, yeah. Let's see. I don't know if we'll be able to find any, but might as well just try to look, right? Where should I go? I guess does anyone in chat know? I know a lot of y'all are. Hey, Portfolio Co-op. I like how people come and let's just say it's a globe. Look, $15,000. I mean, it's right there for you. Just go ahead and sue Zen Garcia that you didn't get his get your $15,000 for proving the Earth is a globe with your experiments. Easy money, right? I mean, heck. Stop wasting your time listening to people on the internet who have less than 8 people watching live, and it's just, due to experiments that have been done since what, 2,500 years? I mean, since Pythagoras first claimed that the Earth was a sphere, and oh man, Pythagoras was one crazy fella, the man behind the curtain, and if you can just all you have to do is Google it. You should be able to easily prove. Heck, I think there's YouTube, right, that debunks flat Earth. Let's look for it. All you have to do is just give out 2 of these points that are listed. Flat Earth debunked. I mean, there's 3 proofs right here by Manassas Michelle Thaler. three of them, 3 proofs. All you need are 2. All you need are 2 proofs, but you can use 3 proofs, and right there, you're gonna get $15,000. You don't even need to chat in my chat. You just go and watch this, present that to court, and $15,000 is yours, courtesy of Zen Garcia. That's what I love about Zen. Zen is so great. I mean, this just makes it laughable to anyone just coming on saying, "Hey, the Earth is a globe." All right, $15,000 yours. Just go ahead and just say, "Hey, $15,000. It's proof. Here's the proof." NASA's Michelle Thaler. Of course, NASA should know, right? NASA knows that it's not a globe. NASA's been into space, to the moon, etc. And if NASA spokesman says, "Hey, there's 3 proofs that the flat Earth theory is debunked," well, then that should be easy money. Easy money. You're just gonna go to the Magistrate Court of Barrow County in Georgia and claim $15,000 from Zen Garcia, and there you go. You're just $15,000 richer. And all you had to do was watch a 7-minute, 5-second video and file a form to the Magistrate Court of Barrow County, Georgia. You've got yourself $15,000. That's like the easiest money ever. And make sure that when you win it and you get the money from Zen Garcia, just donate like $1,500 to me, because now you know about it. And I just told you exactly what you need to do. Prove your globe Earth model. So fun. Oh, man. All right. Where can I find anything here? I want to. Dang. That's it? File an open records request. That's not gonna find anything. You know what? We'll probably have to do a Google search, huh? Garcia, Barrow County. Let's see. Maybe a .gov. Oh, of course, it'll be a .gov. No, it's just be a .org. That doesn't make any sense. anyways, I don't think it's the actual. Because what would be great is to actually listen to court transcripts and see it that way. But I don't think that's going to happen. All right. It's been almost 42 minutes. And people who are talking, let's see what you guys are saying. No, okay, go 1, 2, 3, go. You go for it. You know, I mean, I can't prove it. Obviously, you can easily do that. Just Michelle Thaler said it. So I'm collecting money on behalf of. No, I have not watched Stalker yet. I just don't have time. Which I do want time to do. My this week is just a crazy week. No school for my son today, or no daycare, no school on Friday for my daughter. We're gonna be going up to South Dakota for a funeral, and anyways, everything's out of whack. So you won't be able to see me probably tomorrow night. Maybe you might. I'll just be in a hotel probably. Let's see. I've been into those shows. I mean, look, even on people's shows on Flat Earth, like Nathan Oakley, hypocrites like him and others, they don't give you time to talk. I don't talk all the time I want here. I mean, if I point out some hypocrisy, I'll ask a question, and next thing you know, I'm just muted. So you guys don't hear me speaking, and they just keep talking. But right, like to 2 different videos, you watch the hypocrisy of Nathan Oakley, and I'm on his video, which is great. He uploaded, and he even admitted that he's the one that did the copyright strike against me. For uploading his content, except his content has me muted, whereas my content, where everyone could be heard. So he has full control of his debates. It's not a debate if you can censor and silence the opposition. And I'm not even the opposition. I'm on the Flat Earth side, not the Globe side. But then he just wants to funnel everyone into the control system of religion. And he won't offer the same scientific evidence, even though it's listed him in his what's his name, John Quantum Eraser guy, no last name, no face. Anyways, yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there's people's ideas that the Earth is infinite plane. That's always kind of been out there, but we wouldn't know. What we could guess is that maybe if one is able to go so far as to what should not be there, then that's a possibility, and it's hard to know. I mean, it would be nice if we could go and explore and say, hey, like NASA would go, hey, look, you know what, you guys, you flat earthers, all right, we're gonna give you a spaceship, a rocket ship, right? Put the cameras anywhere you want on it. We'll figure it out and make sure that it can record. Make sure it's not going to have fisheye lens or wide angle lens. It's just going to be maybe 16:9 ratio, whatever. And you tell us where to direct that rocket ship. You guys, and you guys can point the camera whatever direction. That should just end the conversation. That should just end it. That's it. It's like flat earther or 2 or 3 or 4. It's like, hey, pick your pick where the cameras are going to be. Pick where you want it pointed, where you can control it. You can move it around, zoom in, zoom out. You guys can have it for a week. You guys can go wherever you want, however you want to go, and you guys have full control of it. And it's so easy to prove that the Earth is a globe that we're just gonna let you control it for a week. Let you fly wherever you want to go, have cameras pointed wherever you want. And they're not gonna do that. I mean, heck, they're getting what? How many billions just to go back to the moon? Something that they should do easily since they did it over 60 years ago. And if they can't do it, and they're forced to by the vice president, Mike Pence, to get back to the moon in 2024 or else. So, anyways, that's all that is. And of course, I love talking to the Globers, the ones who have no name and no face. Hi, okay, go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Dave Wong, Oakley is part of the show club. Yeah, I know the Plain Troop does. Jose after show, another fella. Isn't Jose the guy who has like a 15,000 page document proving that the Earth is a globe? It's like something crazy like that. I just remember that was just kind of funny. Anyways, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, look, you've got Michelle Thaler. That's all you need. But NASA's Michelle Thaler. 3 proofs that they debunk flat Earth theory. She should easily just get that $15,000. Maybe if I send her an email, I don't think there's an email address you can send to any NASA person. Maybe Twitter. I can say, hey, can you do this? And I'll give you 13,500. You know what? Let's just make it esoteric. I'll give you $666, Miss Thaler, and the rest of it will be mine. And we can just easily prove that the flat Earth's debunked and all that stuff. I mean, come on. Anything could happen here. But that would be great. I would love to see Michelle Thaler go and collect that $15,000 and go up against Zen Garcia. that would just be great. Oh man, it's good times, I tell you. It's good times. Anyways, I had some thoughts of other on topics to do. I can't quite remember them right now, but I think I will try to remember and get back to you. Plus my throat is parched, so I need to drink water. Anyways, thank you for joining me and on this topic. And look, you don't have to prove to me that the Earth is a globe or flat or whatever, especially when all of that's out there already. And look, if you're in need of $15,000, you know where to get it. All right, I'll see you guys later tonight. Maybe we'll see. If not, probably see you sometime this week. That's for sure. All right, bye.